Hello and welcome to another edition of TCNtalk. This week we're going to focus on twocircles.net. We've been running this website for 8 years, and I think and it started in May 2006. So I think it'll be a good idea to talk about that. The history of it, challenges, and where we see us going in future. So TCN started in 2006, but the origin of it is goes way back. So So it started, I when I migrated to United States in '95, I was heavily involved in making websites for Urdu and Urdustan.com, the first website of Urdu on the internet. I started it and was running it for a long time. And then 2002, Gujarat genocide happened, and I felt very helpless, being in America, not able to do anything. So I started paying more attention to Indian Muslim issues and on what's going on. So I joined different mailing lists and also started subscribing to different magazines that I knew were available. For example, Radiance, Milli Gazette, Islamic Voice, and issues like that. And just to see what's being reported, what's being talked about, what are the issues, trying to understand Muslim issues better. And then in 2005, I started a website called IndianMuslims.info because I noticed that in the conversations that were taking place in mailing lists and news groups, not many people were informed of the different issues or very well informed about the challenges or have data about Indian Muslims. First of all, data was sparse, and not much was available. So I used to go to the different libraries, pick up books, or look for research articles about Indian Muslims and see what data is there, and then I'll put it on that website. But then what happened? Then different issues happen, and the mainstream media reporting on issues was a problem. So I started worrying about that because even Indian media, so Milli Gazette was fortnightly, still is. Radiance is weekly. Islamic Voice from Bangalore is monthly. So by the time they come out with a say Muslim version of the story or event, it was already too late. In this day and age, news cycle moves in 24 hours news cycle. So if you don't intervene, you don't put your position there. Next day, news has already moved on to different topics and different subjects, so you're too late. So you have to intervene. You have to respond quickly. So I see internet, and I've been on the internet since 1995. I've been working, making different websites. So I understood this medium, and Muslims always had to complain that we never had a English newspaper or even a Hindi newspaper for that matter. So instead of just complaining about it, we don't have resources. There have been few attempts, but none successful. I saw internet as a new media for news propagation and dissemination. So why not take that opportunity, create something on the internet, because it doesn't require a lot of resources. So that was my idea, and we started as an experiment because I don't come from a journalism background. I have no idea, but I started that because I see nobody else doing it. Of course, there are people with a lot more talent, a lot more resources that should be able to do a better job, more effective job. But we started just in an experiment because the idea was that even if we fail in a few months, somebody else will learn from our failure and then go on to create something better. That was the idea. But 8 years later, well, we're still here, which is good and also a little bit sad that that nothing bigger has come to replace us. which also tells us that the community support that is needed for initiative like this still lacking, and I think that's a big problem, and that's a problem that we continue to face. But of course, uh, there there are support, otherwise we would not have survived 8 years. So the support comes in terms of people giving stories, people coming to the website, sharing their stories, telling us what's happening, and of course, people who are giving us financial support to continue this effort. And this is definitely been thankful to them, because without them it has not, this wouldn't have go on. And talking about the impact, I think we had well, a few things we got it right from the beginning, and I think that was the secret that made TCN a success story. First of all, we made it clear that we're not an Islamic website. We are a website for Muslims, and also when we talk about Muslim, we take it as a Muslim as a social group, not just as a religious group. And it's a small but significant differentiation, because this tells you how to um, how to do the issue. So instead of saying Islam khatare mein hai, and then your focus is always trying to defend Islam, we try to see how Muslims are faring in India, what are the issues and challenges there. And when we say Muslim, then it makes it easier, since we are not Islamic website. We don't have to define what is the correct form of Islam, which a lot of websites get it wrong, in the sense that this is where they focus on. Then if you define Islam, then you start saying that, okay, so that group is not a proper Muslim, and then you go into this whole issue, and then your journalism ability to do a good journalism suffers. So we don't make that differentiation, and we report on all Muslim sectarian groups, all Muslim political groups, social groups, on and their issues and their challenges, and what work they are doing. Of course, we have limited resources, but our space, the TCN web space, is available to all of them. The other thing I think that we got it right was the mainstream treatment of Muslim issues. So instead of always looking at Muslim issues from a community perspective or from a religious angle, rather we take it the mainstream approach, which is here's the issue, and there are different angles to the story, so let's try to get all the angles, and not just saying that, oh, everybody is discriminating against us. Of course that happens, but also see what the community is doing and where we are lacking as a community, and see what issues, challenges are there, while highlighting the discrimination and all the other things. And I think there and this continue to be an issue, but I think Indian media is getting a little bit better, because I think in the beginning what I used to see was they didn't know, really, there was no guide available on how to report on Muslim issues, so they always a little scared of touching Muslim issues, because they are not aware of how really to go about covering or reporting on Muslim issues. And I think TCN, by doing this day in and day out, had also led in a way, and given ideas to Indian mainstream media, so-called mainstream media, or the corporate media, how to do, really, the big major media, how to do Muslim stories, without getting involved in religious issues and whatnot, or just looking at Muslims from a religious point of view. I think it still has long ways to go, but I think I think they are doing much better stories now than before. So I think that has been a contribution of TCN in Indian media. Of course, there are a lot of stories that we broke, and that was followed up by other media. And that also we are happy that they chose to follow on those stories, because of course, major media has a lot access to a bigger audience than us, and that's fine with us. But but by working with major media or working with regional media, we're able to reach to a wider, a bigger audience. And what we do is honest journalism. We're not really focused on saying that just Muslims or whitewashing of Muslim issues, and then saying all Muslims are all good and everything is great, and just they're feeling discrimination. But we're being honest. We're also critical of Muslim organizations. We are critical of Muslim leaders. We have to act as a watchdog, and that's the role of media. To act as a watchdog on behalf of the community. And this is definitely a challenge because when you criticize a personality or organization, the followers not going to like it. But we continue to do so because we are honest. We don't have any hidden agenda. We are not. We are independent media. We're not supporting or opposing an organization or coming and propagating a religious ideology or sectarian ideology or a political group. So we are honest. What we see our role as a watchdog for the community, and this is what we see. If we see an issue in the community, we are going to highlight that and we're going to talk about it. But as a community media, is also a responsibility. We cannot be too negative, and this I see it, and that, and we have to act responsibly in that regard, because ultimately we have to provide hope and opportunity, that there is an opportunity to our readers. So even if when we do a series, which is very depressing, like we did a series in on West Bengal, and it was really very big. It was really sad. The situation there was really sad. But we ended the series by providing how organization in that series we did focus on Charity Alliance. How they're doing the work. So there was a hope. Of course, don't feel. The message was that of course this bad things are happening. It's a really bad situation there, but don't feel disheartened. There are ways. If you want to help, here's an organization that's doing good work. Go work with them, and that has been our approach. That we offer hope. We don't offer just that it's really bad situation. So you have to give people a way out, and that we see as a responsibility of a community media. And so far we have been successful in the sense that of course people have been critical of some of the things that we have done, not happy about it, but overall we have a lot of support from the community, and people see it as a resource, and know that we don't have any other agenda, and we are doing it with honesty and sincerity, and and I think that has been a big support, a big encouragement for us, that we can continue doing the work. So okay, so a few people have joined. If there's any question, please shout out, and I'll be happy to respond to that. Hello. Okay, so I'll continue. So, of course, so TCN is a non-profit news organization based in the United States, but focusing on India and Indian Muslims. And I don't claim that we're doing a really good job of covering all Indian Muslims. No, Indian Muslims are a diverse community. A lot of issues within the community, and also the diversity of the geographical spread is also pretty big, and even though we're trying really hard, but of course resources are limited, so we're not able to cover all the issues. But one focus has always been that we should spread out to the as much as possible, and that's the reason from the beginning we always had a reporter in Kerala. The last I think about a year we don't have now in Kerala, but we have somebody in Assam, for example, and news like this, what's happening, Assam violence, we always either send a reporter. Now, fortunately, we have somebody there, so they can report from the ground, and those things are important. So it's that that it's not just the Indian Muslims exist only in UP, Bihar, Delhi, or in speaking Urdu. That's not true. A huge percentage of Indian Muslims, they speak Bangla or Assamia, a lot in the south as well. And there's a lot of interesting things happening in the south, and that's why it's important to have reporters everywhere to bring on the ground reporting, do field reporting and see what's really happening on the ground. And that was another thing that I saw other Indian Muslim media not doing, was they were doing a lot of opinion pieces, writing about issues and analyzing it. That's fine. But unless you have reporters on the ground who can bring, what's really happening, the real picture, you cannot set your own agenda. Then you're following somebody else's agenda. You're just responding to that in terms of analysis. And where it becomes important, I can give you example of, like, for example, Forbes gun police firing that happened few years ago in Bihar, where Bihar police fired and killed 4 or 5 Muslims who were protesting against their land being acquired and given to a private company, which blocked their access to hospitals and the market and whatnot. So their road was being cut off. So what happened so a lot of reports were happening, being reported from Patna. And Patna, the government officials were saying, oh, there was cross-firing, and we fired only 4 shots, and so things like that, and everybody was reporting there because nobody was actually going to the village. So when we sent the reporter to the village, then we saw that the reality was different, and there were a lot of shots fired. There was no cross-firing, and and then the brutality of the incident. A lot of stories came out, and that was important. And once you started reporting from there, then the story got finally picked up by other media, and other organizations got active, and government of Bihar also got into the offensive. So the importance of ground reporting cannot be emphasized enough. It's very important, and especially in this time when newsrooms are shrinking. This is also very important that we have enough reporters on the ground to bring the real picture of what's happening. So otherwise you'll miss the trends, what's really happening on the ground, and things like that. Otherwise you will go with the preconceived notion, and then you will miss sometimes a lot of new developments that are happening, not just negative things but also positive things. And that's very important, that you have reporters who can capture that information and those stories. And also giving voice or a platform to the people on the ground. Instead of me talking on behalf of Indian Muslims, it should be different voices within the community should come on its own, and that's the reason you see a lot of videos that we have, people on the street and them talking in their own language. And we try to not to edit those videos and put it raw up there just like that, unedited. But the reason is that people should know that what the community or what the common Muslims are thinking and talking about it. What are their issues? Instead of having those talking heads in Delhi studios and just talking about what they think are the Muslims thinking about. So those things are important, and I think that's where we got it right, and that also people see a value in those in the videos that we send. Of course, if you look at it, it's not very. Sometimes it's just like it's a long interview, but the reason we do it is so that people know that this unfiltered news that they're getting, and has been a complaint that I have from Indian media, is that Muslim voices, first of all, are not there, or they are filtered a lot. So the voice of the community doesn't reach in a very filtered manner. So I'll give you an example. When we started the Daily News website, This was in 2006, and at that time, there were any bomb blast or incident, they always, the talking heads in the media will always complain that why Indian Muslims don't, or Muslims don't, condemn terrorism. So it wasn't that the Muslims were not condemning terrorism, but their voices were not reaching the media, or media was filtering it. So in 2006, there was some bombing in Mumbai, and all I did was compile all the statements from different Muslim organizations or Muslim leaders and put it in one news story. That's it. That's all I did. Um, and that story got shared a lot, and then after that the perception changed that Muslims don't condemn terrorism. Just to saying that Muslims don't condemn terrorism, the idea that you're projecting in everybody's mind that, oh yeah, Muslims don't condemn terrorism because probably they support it, but that's not true. Everybody knows, as a Muslim, we don't support that violence. But since mainstream media was filtering those voices, of course, then first of all, what you do is you put guard in front of your house, and then you say, oh, you never come to my house. No, you have given instruction to your guard that don't allow Muslims to come inside your house, and then you complain that there's no progressive voice, there's no real voice in the community. No, because the major media, they go out and seek those kind of voices that are polarizing, that are fanatical, and then they say, oh, these people are representing the community. No, there are different voices, there are different things in the community, and that's what TCN has done, is to enable common Muslims, to come and speak what's on their mind, what are their issues, and I think and that's what we have been able to do. Of course, our resources are limited, but I think now things are a bit better in the sense that even the corporate media, major media now seek out different opinion. But of course, but just the nature of the businesses, they always look for the extremes. They look for the extreme opinions that are available there, and they highlight those extremes because that makes for good television, right? If people are talking sense, then that doesn't make good, interesting television, because media is unfortunately for profit, and you can make profit by getting more people to see your program rather than making sense. And that's another reason that TCN is a non-profit, because we are not here to make money. We believe good journalism can be done by not having the profit motive and by going non-profit. Of course, that brings a challenge. How do you survive? But I think it's easier for a non-profit to survive because you're not returning any money back to the investors. So you don't have this profit motive in your mind that you have to return profit to the investor. So all you have to do is meet your expenses, and you're all set. So I think that has been also a success of the community. And being a non-profit, you have to go back. You're accountable to the community instead of being accountable to a few investors, accountable to advertisers. You're accountable to the community. So the type of journalism you do, the issues that you raise are more closer to the community. What going to impact them, why it's important to them, and I think also. We don't care too much about how many people are going to read the story, how much traffic we're going to get. But if we see something that is important, we do it. For example, the Madhya Pradesh series, the terror in Madhya Pradesh that we did a few years ago, that Ismail from Hyderabad went and did it. We don't get a lot of traffic from Madhya Pradesh. It's a big state. There's no terror incident as such in Madhya Pradesh, but we got reports from there that a lot of Muslim youth were getting arrested and harassed in the name of terrorism in Madhya Pradesh. So we sent somebody there, investigate what's going on, what are the issues, and we did a whole series on that. So we did the series because we cared, not that people cared. A lot of people didn't even know, and that series had a lot of impact. And that's one of the reasons that the series page got blocked by the government of India without informing us, is illegally. And even though Madhya Pradesh, the ruling party there is BJP, and in central it was Congress, but still they blocked it, and that shows the impact of the media. And and recently we got a letter from Mumbai cyber cell about some story we did. So we continue to make an impact. The government is watching us. The opinion makers are watching us, and people who matter. And even though we are in English, we are able to make a lot of impact because we are influencing the opinion makers, and that has been our goal from the beginning. And that's why even though we are on the internet, even though we are in English, which a lot of people still in India don't have access to the internet or know English, but still I think we're able to make an impact. At this time, I'll take questions if anybody has any question. Questions? Riaz, do you have any question?
Yeah, can I come in? I have a question.
Go ahead.
One question that I have about TCN is, and which is true for most such alternate media, is they start off well, but they seem to get stagnated. Uh, TCN, I think it should try to grow up. It could not grow, like it reached its height, I think around 2010-11, and it seems to be getting stagnated over there. It's not growing. I mean, commercially. Like it started off as a non-profit. Fine, it's good to have a non-profit model, but even in non-profit we could have tried to grow, like, because I don't know, we never discussed this, so I just thought to know your take on this.
Yeah, so any organization, of course, in science they say they follow the S curve. So there's a period of growth, and after that they become stable. That's true for any organization. You cannot have constant growth, which is impractical. So everybody has their network. And their resources, and so the growth is dependent on the resources. We're not going to the market and asking for money. We're going to our contributors and asking for money to support us. And there is only so much the community can support, and or so much the network that I have or the people that associate with us have. So which is fine. I'm not saying we have reached our full potential. I think there's more to grow, definitely. And recently, we are what we are doing is we have expanded our coverage in the sense that we have promised to do more Dalit stories, and we're doing more Dalit stories. And inshallah, we have planned to hire a reporter from the Dalit community itself. And then I think the reporting will get even better when we have somebody from the community. So in that sense, yes, we had a period of growth that was rapid, um, because we had some support at that time, but that was not sustainable support. So we downsized a bit, and we took last 2 years to regroup, and we're still in the regrouping phase right now. But we are slowly growing with we adding few more reporters there. But I think this time we are being a little bit cautious in the coverage and the geographical spread, because of the limited resources. But we are still in the period of growth. But I think it's a slow growth at this time than last time.
Uh,
Most,
I just
Who is
I
this?
just want to. This is Sajjad from
Sajjad.
Delhi.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to
please,
say
please
that.
hold on, Sajjad, please hold on. Like, let me complete. We can get question one by one. So, like on this issue only, uh, why is it like most even NGOs these days have their own marketing team? So why you never try to have say someone to try to get ads or a sponsor or something like that?
No, so we do have ads on the website, but I don't want it ads like it appears on like Times of India or other news website, which is everywhere pop-ups and whatnot. It's crazy. Because our idea is not to sell ads. Our idea is we want people to come and read our stories, right? So the internet ad business is very is contradictory, right? So you want to build a website that you want people to come, but then you want them to click on the ad and go somewhere else. So that was not my goal. I wanted them to come and stay on the website. So the idea was not to sell ads, but rather have them read the stories. I want more people to read the stories. So the focus from the beginning has not been on ads, and it's not like we didn't try. Of course, the ad is still there, and we still continue to get ads. But definitely focus is not there on ads because nobody is making money on the internet just selling ads space. Any news organization, nobody's doing that. So why waste our time and energy trying to get ads to survive? We know that's not going to be successful. It's not a successful model. The other model that's there on the internet is subscription based, and New York Times is right now I think is the only organization that are making any money by subscription. But our Desi community it's a challenge to have them subscribe. And plus, we don't want subscription. We want people to come and read our stories for free, and we want our news to go as far as possible. So I don't mind, when our stories get copied and published by other websites. That's fine. Our stories regularly get copied and translated by regional media in Gujarati, in Telugu, of course in Urdu, and then we have news of Assamia and Bangla and Malayalam, which I'm happy that more people are able to read our stories. So that's another reason we don't want to go to subscription model either. We have talked to people, we have talked to organization, and support is there, and otherwise we would not have survived for years. But of course, support is not that big that we can go really huge, but we are working towards that, and it's a constant struggle. But this is a struggle that also keeps us honest, that keeps us rooted to our ground, so that we know that we are accountable to the community. So in that way, I think it works well, even though it puts some constraints on what we want to cover and what we can cover given our resources. Um, but of course, if I get resources, we can do a lot more. I'm not saying that, but it's just also we are a small organization, so I don't have a full-time person, or I don't have a full-time job that I can just go and seek those funding. But we are getting more people involved in doing that.
Uh, I just want
Okay.
to add it. I think the two circles should have engaged more, try to engage more and more with the academic community. Through the two circles, there is also a generation of academic uh, content. A lot of two circles articles are cited in the academic articles also. I think this is a very good uh, point for us.
Sorry, is it Sajad?
Yes, yes.
So what do you mean by getting engaged more with the academics? You mean more academic articles, or like what do you mean?
Uh, no, 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 not exactly, but like uh, like a dialectic between academic and the media, like borrowing, like the academician borrowing from the media, and the media borrowing from the academicians, like like a dialogue, which is happening like informally. Like you can see that a lot of articles cite two circles stories, like
Mhm.
in that way. I mean to say,
I think that there are three kinds of engagements with academics. I mean, first can be academics writing for two circles. Second can be they like we consult them when doing our stories for quotes for expert opinions, and third is
yeah,
they reading us. Third is written. So we try to get expert opinions as often as possible from people from AMU, people from Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru Jamia, like, or like say someone is doing a story from Hyderabad, Ismail, so he consults say someone from Hyderabad University or Osmania University. So we try to do that as much as possible. About writing, they do write, like some of AMU historians and some of the people from Jamia. Like today only, if you'll find, there is
Yeah.
one article on home page about one research scholar from Jamia. He has written an article. It's a rebuttal to David Cohen's article, which was published in Hindu on April 21st.
Yeah.
So I think these are the ways we try to get engaged with them. And reading, I think we can only reach out to them. It's academic too has have to be serious about reading about issues. And as you are saying, that some of our articles are often cited if they are doing research on Muslim issues. So which
Yeah.
is in a way sort form of engagement for us.
We can
Kashif
also
bhai, do you
try
want to?
to
Yeah,
we can also
yeah,
try
go
to
on.
bring them like a few of like experts in the Google Hangout, like for a certain issue. Like for example, we can try to bring Hilal Ahmed, or like whoever the expert is, like for a particular topic, and like we can try to publicize like a much like a TV debate. You know, we can do it like the same thing online.
Y- y-
Yeah, we can think.
yes, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. That's a good idea. In fact, last week we tried to get in something, but because we have some people from US and some from in India, so sometimes it becomes little difficult. But we are trying. It's a
Yeah.
this is only the third hangout, and we are in
Yes.
we want to like we are, once we are sure that we are getting enough response from the people, and there are enough people who are engaging with the hangout, and then that's in the pipeline. That's one of the ideas, that we'll have some
Yeah.
experts. So that's an idea. That's, thank you
Yeah.
very much for that suggestion.
Mm. Thank you.
Kashif bhai, you want to come in?
No, I think you said it right. Academic community, we always, when we do stories, and as I mentioned earlier in this program, that we leave our video as raw footage, and that was one of the idea, that people look at it, and the researchers can get the raw data that they need for their stories, and for their articles and their research papers, and of course we are in touch with a few of the academics, and they get in touch with us, and we provide them information that they need. Some work has been done on TCN as well, and there's a book coming out hopefully soon, later this year, which will have a chapter on TCN itself. But yeah, I think we should get more academic to come to the program, and as Riaz said, this is one of the attempt in doing that. So we just started this program, but inshallah we'll continue this weekly tradition, and we'll pick a topic, and we'll invite the academic or expert in that topic, and and continue this program. Faraz, you have some question you want to go? Mohiddin, Faraz, do you want to ask a question? Okay, so I think he posted in the chat window, say, what are your plans for the, he doesn't have a mic, what are your plans for the next 5 to 10 years? So I think, so of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
we have been doing it for 8 years.
I had muted him. Faraz, can you?
For we've done it for Indian
Okay, okay.
Muslims, and I think the realization that has come is, of course, there is discrimination against Muslims for being Muslims, no doubt about that. But there are also different fights that are happening, and those are for any marginalized community in India, not just Muslims. Like for example, let's take the example of fake encounters. Right before Muslims getting encountered, it was it started with Sikhs and then tribals, and it's continued to happen to tribals. So there are different issues that we should took it up, and so now we are positioning ourselves, because as I see the Indian media is getting really commercialized, which means that they're just looking after the bottom line, and then it's difficult to get stories of the marginalized in Indian media. So we want to occupy that space, and we want to give voice to other communities, and that's as I mentioned, we start covering more Dalit issues, and we'll also want to do more tribal stories and their stories and what's really happening. So this is what we want to do for the next 5 years. And also we want to get more on the video as well, space, because I noticed that a lot of people watch videos on their phone and YouTube videos. So we will be providing more content. I mean, this is what we want to do: provide more stories, more video content, without diluting the focus on Indian Muslim, without diluting the text content that still goes on, but adding more to it instead of putting changing resources from one place to another, adding more content and more resources. So that's what we intend to do for 5 years. I think 10 years is still. I'm not sure what we'll be doing in 10 years. So, but that's the 5 year focus that I have right now. Nazir bhai, you have any question?
Assalamu alaikum, Kashif bhai.
Walaikum
How are you?
assalam.
Kashif bhai, I was joining late. I don't know this hangout. I'm not sure about the topic you are speaking. So if you can brief me, that would be great.
We're talking about twocircles.net, and it's been 8 years in this month. In May, we started in 2006. So we are talking about TCN and the history of TCN, and what we have been able to achieve, what are the things, opportunities, challenges, and where we want to go in future.
Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Uh, I really appreciate your work, and I was really
Thank
amazed of your work sitting in US and working for India. That really, it's a great task. May Allah reward you for that.
you.
Uh, our support is there for you always, inshallah.
Okay, so I mean, Nazir, you come from Tamil Nadu, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just as I mentioned before, it's still right. For example, we don't have any reporter in Tamil Nadu. I know there's a lot of interesting things happening in Tamil Nadu. A lot of groups very active, even though Muslims are, not that huge a number there. But I think they're very active in the social political scene. But that's also a challenge that we have, that we're not able to uh, provide coverage of all regions, of all places, and that's something that you know still continue to be an issue for me, that we say that we're covering Indian Muslim, but we're really not covering all the issues and all that. But we try our best, and we're dependent on readers like you who tell us what's happening in their mohalla, their state, their village, and give us the story so we can have somebody follow it up and see what's really happening. Um, so I'm thankful to all my readers and all our supporters. So our readers are also our supporters, in the sense that they provide us information of what's going on, so we can continue to cover those areas where we don't have any presence.
Yes. The problem here in Tamil Nadu is, Kashif, by the language barrier.
Yeah.
The people are Tamilians and they don't have at least a minimum background of English. And to reach out these people, I think slowly to have two circles has increasing their audience in Tamil Nadu. I think so. You may be having the reports with you on data, uh, and you have, I think, you have a good relation with Jawahirullah MP and DMMK people too.
Yeah.
What I would suggest here is, why don't you have an open call or open article to ask people to send news from Tamil Nadu, so that it will be helpful for you, and you have to validate before you enter it, to publish it, so
Yeah.
that
So,
you can get
right.
at least a dozen of readers who can contribute to the news from their local channels or local seeing. Being I am in Dubai, I am not much aware of the things happening there. Only things which I know, come to know, or which I get is the one which I report to you. So it's better if you have some people like in Tamil Nadu giving you a news directly, and you validate with some people before you publish.
Yeah. No, of course, and as I said, that's why we get a lot information from our readers, and but the credibility is very important for us because especially working in this scene, working on Indian Muslim issues, if you report something that's not cannot be verified, then that's it, you're done. In media business, credibility is very important. Unless you're corporate media, you can get away with anything. So that has been an issue. So that's why we take everything with a pinch of salt, and we always be cautious of that. But of course, we get a lot of information from our readers or people who provide us information, and then we can verify it, and we can verify it, and then we publish it. And but we continue to, of course, we're dependent on that. But the problem with volunteers is, of course, they are, they cannot report on a regular basis. So we always prefer having our own people on the ground, because it's not just story coming to you, but also us going in the community and seeking out, what are the stories. So that's the difference. So I still prefer to have, even if part-time reporters, to go in the community and
So if
report.
you have a plan of having some reporters, is there any plan of hiring some reporter like part-time reporters for you in a region, dividing Tamil Nadu into 4 regions or 3 regions, so that they can cover regular basis and get us reports? If there is any plans of like that, let me know so that I can helpful to you, inshallah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. If you know somebody who's good, who's willing to work on a part-time basis, we'll love to have that person. So we can get regular reports, of course. So we can talk offline about that.
Okay, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. All right. Riaz, you got more questions? Or
Yeah, I have one more question.
okay.
So, as you were talking about the expansion mode that TCN is currently in, and you're trying to cover more of Dalit issues. If you remember, I tried to write as a 2 years back before I joined TCN, I worked on a paper on TCN, which I presented in Jamia. And in that context, if you remember, we had discussion, and you pointed out that there is one issue which we could not highlight as much, was Muslim women issues, the minorities within minorities. So, now that you are in expansion mode, it's my suggestion that I think we should try to cover, and I'm sure you will say, yes, you should also cover. So, but besides me, I think we should try to raise issues related to Muslim women, and also highlight their issues and their stories,
Yeah. No.
rather than.
So yeah. No. No. So of course, Muslim women issues. When we're talking about Indian Muslim issues, that was already there that we want to do it, and it's not like we have not tried. We had a few Muslim women reporters, and we have done a number of stories on Muslim women. But of course, it's an ongoing process. But currently, we don't have any Muslim women on our staff, since Anjuman from Assam, she left us. So that's always in the back of my mind, that we want to give their voices, and not just as a Muslim woman. Like, for example, when you go on the election series, when you go covering election stories, you should talk also to Muslim women, and see, because they are voters too. What are their issues and stuff like that. So it's not just take them as a different category, but also have them within the community. Those voices should also be heard. So of course, that's always in the back of my mind, and that's not just the expansion thing, but it's just it's just we are trying to do that for, I think, for last 1 year at least. Unfortunately, we don't have any Muslim woman reporter. So that area is a bit lacking, because our male reporters, not like they're restricted from doing Muslim women stories. They should do it, but they're a little shy, I think. So then push too much into that space. But I think that definitely should be there. And as I said, of course, we're not covering the whole spread of the Muslim opinion. Like, for example, Dalit Muslim stories are still, lacking a lot in our coverage. But I cannot say that just because you're not doing the whole thing, we shouldn't go to Dalit. The reason for doing Dalit stories is also because we see a lot of parallel in how reporting is done on Dalit issues, and hopefully that will bring more audience. It will give TCN a wider audience, and also maybe bring more resources to our coverage. So I don't see that as resource migrating from one area to another, but rather maybe making TCN even bigger. So we should be able to do the stories that even Indian Muslim stories that we are unable to do right now.
Hmm. It just came to my mind, so I'm just suggesting we can talk about it offline later. Since we are expanding and trying to do more of Dalit stories, maybe we should try to do a series on Dalit Muslims, or not even or like all backward communities among Muslims.
No, it hasn't come
But
to your
we'll
mind.
talk about it
We
later.
have been talking about for at least 6 months. You were supposed to go to Bihar to do this series, right? Remember? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we have been talking about it. So it's not like we forgot it.
Yes, I remember. It just
Yeah,
came to my mind. So yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm saying it just.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other
I think
questions?
that's it,
Last.
Vish.
Okay. And I want to keep it focused and don't prolong it. So I think 1 hour is a good time so that um, that we don't waste a lot of people's time and things are focused. So thank you everybody for joining us, and hopefully the conversation will go on. And Faraz is saying he has a book from Indian Objective Institute of Objective Studies called Marginal Muslim Communities in India. So that will be a great book for us to look it up and start from there. Thank you, Faraz. All right, thank you everybody for coming. And you can buy the birthday cake for TCN and have it and eat it too. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.